If you ask me right now, EBM Ernest, where are you? Where are you standing? I'm standing in the state line between two states, between the state of Kansas and the state of Missouri. You can see this is the office where I work, the big building. Now we work from home, but today I came here for a few things. But if you look, that is the building, but from here, from this little small fence, going that side, that is another state. That is the state of Missouri. So that's why I usually tell people, where do you live? I say I live in Kansas City. Or sometimes I say I live in Kansas, sometimes I say I live in Missouri, because it's confusing. From my home to, I live in Missouri, but from my home to where I work, which is the state of Kansas, is about 25 miles. And almost the same distance where I used to live in the state of Kansas. So this has been very interesting. And the most other interesting part is about this Quick Trip. Quick Trip is a store. This store is a gas station, but sometimes they sell some other important things. So this Quick Trip, before it was here, you see how interesting. The Quick Trip before was there, it was on that side. It was around this building, before this building. That is where originally Quick Trip was. Remember, this building where it is in the state of Kansas. But this now, when they moved to the other side, is the state of Missouri. Remember, each state has different laws. In the state of Kansas, you cannot be able to sell alcohol in the store like this way. You cannot do that. In the state of Missouri, you can sell alcohol in the stores like this way. That's why you have two Trader Joe's. They are not far apart one from another, because one is in the state of Kansas. That one is from the state of Kansas, doesn't sell alcohol. The one in the state of Missouri, they sell alcohol. So for instance, now I'm talking to you, I'm in the state of Kansas. I'm walking just less than 30 seconds where I'm standing now, and I'm in Missouri. So you see, just this is small line here is differentiating between the two. This building is the state of Kansas, this one is the state of Missouri. So, and where you go, there is a road here, is called the state line. That means the two states separating. And for those who do not know, there is a very big, I don't know, not like a war, is a war between the people who live in Kansas and the people who live in Missouri. They share the same downtown, which is Kansas City. So they call Kansas City, Missouri, and Kansas City, Kansas. So they have the same airport, international airport, whatever, in Kansas City, but it's still the same airport. But here, someone who was born and raised in the state of Kansas, you tell that you live in the other side of Missouri, it's like it's a war. Someone from Missouri doesn't say is living in Kansas. Someone from Kansas doesn't say they live in Missouri. But it's almost, for me, I don't see the difference. For me, coming from another state or another country, I don't see a big deal, but for them, it's a big deal. There are so many, history behind why these states, they have the same downtown. The Kansas City is downtown, one Kansas City downtown, but the people in Missouri, they call, I'm going to downtown Kansas City, Missouri, and the people in Missouri, the people of Kansas, they say they're going to the Kansas City, Kansas, and the people of Missouri, they say they're going to Kansas City, Missouri. So KCMO and the KCKS, that is the difference between the two. So I don't know, it's a very confusing thing, but overall, it is the same thing in me. So just like you can see by standing here, you see the difference between just this store or gas station. To move from that area to here changes everything. It moved from that distance, which is just like a short distance, but it changes the law from the Kansas side to Missouri side. So that's why, for instance, like sometimes I get confused. Where do you live? I say I live in Kansas. Where do you live? I tell people I live in Missouri. For me, it's not a big deal because they are all the same area. So this is the difference between Kansas City, Kansas, Kansas City, Missouri. I'm moving from Kansas. Now I'm turning this round. I'm in the Missouri side. Very interesting, the states to live. Overall, whether you're in Kansas City or you're in Missouri, depending which one you like, but they are almost most of the things are a little bit okay. It's very affordable states, both Kansas and Missouri. It's a good place to raise your children. They have very good housing. Everything is very good, but there are, if you go to Missouri, for instance, if you go to, let's say, St. Louis, all other bigger cities, they have a lot of crime. The people talk about that one. So, I mean, depending on what you like and what you don't like, but overall, for me, I'm enjoying here. While I was trying to buy the house, there was some sort of challenges. Most of the homes in the state of Kansas, for me, I saw them, they are a little bit more pricey compared to the Missouri side. That is one of the differences I saw. And the other things, like if you wanted to car registration in Missouri side, it was cheaper than Kansas. But there are some other certain regulations. For me, where I lived in Overland Park before in the state of Kansas. Then, so I lived in Kansas, so I was filing just on one state, the tax. I filed the federal tax. Then I filed the state of Kansas because I earned my income from the state of Kansas, and I lived in Kansas. Then I lived in Missouri. So after moving to Missouri, I have to file tax into two places. So I filed the federal, then I filed the Kansas where I earn my income because the office is in Kansas, but I live on the other side of Missouri. So because I live in Missouri, I have to file also on the Missouri side, and I take the tax from here and I apply in Missouri. But in most cases, I end up to pay back in Missouri because it is a certain type of taxes is a little bit higher. And because I'm just on the outskirts, just like 25 miles from downtown, but if you are, I don't know, 20 miles or something out of the Kansas City, I pay extra $20 or $25 each month. Just like a city tax, just because I live just on the at the edge between the city of Kansas City, like exactly, versus on the other town of Belton, where the Belton city starts in Missouri. It's very crazy, but that is something I want to share with you. It's a very interesting thing. So people who live in DMV, Virginia, people who live in Virginia, BC and Maryland, this is a normal thing for them to move from one state to another very, very quick. That is very, very normal. I remember I was applying one time. I was doing some paperwork, and the paperwork I said I live in Missouri and I work in Kansas, so they have to ask me, how do you live in other states and you work in other states? So I had to explain on the phone and people understood. When I lived in West Virginia, we had the same thing they called tri-state. From West Virginia in the city of Huntington going to the other side, you just cross the river, you are in Kentucky. You cross the river, you are in Ohio, so it was called the tri-state area. So those are the few things you can be able to get into some of the states. So thanks so much, everyone. Bye bye. This is Ernest Boniface Makulilo, EBM, and I enjoy your support of my YouTube channel. Goodbye.